Hello scientists, and welcome to this video on adaptations. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe adaptations that help organisms survive and reproduce in their environment. Before you start watching, you should have a copy of the fill-in-the-blank notes that go with this video. You can get them in class or find it on our teams. Okay, let's get started. So genetic diversity exists in populations for a couple of reasons. Genetic diversity means having many different alleles or many different types of gene across all individuals of a population. And this arises because individuals inherit different combinations of alleles from each parent. Remember the law of independent assortment, which says that you get some chromosomes from mom and some from dad in different combinations. It can also arise because of mutations. Mutations are a permanent change in the genetic material of an organism. Mutations are random, although you can increase the chance of having a mutation if you're exposed to a mutagen, like certain chemicals or radiation. Mutations can be passed to offspring if they affect the DNA that is present in egg or sperm cells. So if they happen in cells that undergo meiosis, then they will be passed on to the offspring. And we say that traits that can be passed on to the offspring are heritable. And different alleles of a gene originally arose by mutation. So every difference we see between individuals of a species originally was a mutation. Adaptation is when a mutation causes an allele that gives an organism an advantage in either survival or reproduction. We can have three different types of adaptation. The first is structural, which is when a feature of an organism's body gives them an advantage. It could be behavioral, where their response to certain situations or behaviors made by an organism give them an advantage. Or they could be physiological. Physiological has to do with a body process or body chemistry. And if this gives an organism an advantage in survival or reproduction, it is an adaptation. Adaptations are specific to the environment. So whether or not a mutation is an adaptation, whether it gives it an advantage or not, depends on the organism's environment. So a trait that may give an advantage in one environment may not give an advantage in another environment. For example, if an animal is camouflaged to blend in with rocks in the desert, that same mutation would not be an advantage in, say, a grassy field or a jungle, because it wouldn't be camouflaged anymore. If a mutation improves an organism's chance of survival, it's called a selective advantage. Over time, a heritable trait that gives an organism a better chance at surviving and reproducing may become more common in the population after many generations have passed. This process is called natural selection. So, natural selection is the process by which advantageous traits or adaptations become more common in a population over a long time. So here's some examples of structural adaptations. This is the long-eared jerboa, which lives in Africa. You can see that it has long ears and it has big legs, and it also has eyes on the side of its head. These all help it sense and escape predators. Same with this gazelle. This is a Thompson's gazelle. Can you see its eyes on the side of its head? Most prey species have eyes on the side of their head so that they can see predators sneaking up behind them. It also has big ears and fast legs to get away from predators. Now here's a serval. A serval is a small cat that lives in Africa, and you can see that it has eyes on the front of its head. This is a common feature of predators so that they can see their prey and see how far away they are. They have better depth perception. It also has big ears because it's trying to sense rodents that are running through long grass. But servals are small. They can be predated themselves. So on the back of those big ears, they have these eye spots, and that is to scare off predators. It makes them appear like these are the eyes of a larger mammal than the serval is actually itself. So all of these are structural adaptations because they are having to do with the body or how the body looks or is formed. Another structural adaptation that allows organisms to blend in with their environment is called camouflage. So here is a predator, a wolf. You can see eyes on the front of its head, big ears. They have big paws so they can walk on the snow, but they're also light in color so they can blend in and maybe their prey won't see them as quickly. Here's an example of a prey species. Look at this little baby deer. Has eyes that are going to move to the side of its head as it gets older. They are kind of on the side of its head already. Big ears. And actually this spotting on its back is camouflage because it resembles the dappled sunlight that could come in through a bush. So their moms make them hide in shrubs and under trees. And those little white lights kind of mimic sunlight that would come through the leaves and be on their backs. So this is camouflage. Plants can have structural adaptations too. So for example, cacti are specially adapted to store water on the inside of their bodies. They have a very thick outside skin, which is called a cuticle, just like in your nails. It helps them not lose water in the sunlight. Plants can be adapted to gain nutrients. So this is a Venus flytrap. Carnivorous plants use insects not to get energy, but actually to get nutrients from their bodies. They can also be adapted to living in many different conditions. So these are water lilies and they have these big leaves that float so that they can get sunlight while they live on the water. Okay, here's some examples of behavioral adaptations. So many animals migrate. I'm sure you hear in Vancouver when the geese are migrating, they're overhead honking. So migration is a behavioral adaptation that helps species survive the winter. Here's some meerkats. They have a behavioral adaptation of having lookouts. So these lookout meerkats will warn the rest of their colony if they see a predator coming. You can have animals that hunt in packs. That's a behavioral adaptation. They're more likely to catch prey. And one of my favorites is the behavioral adaptations that have to do with mating. So this is a bird of paradise doing a little mating dance with all its really shiny blue feathers to try and attract a mate. So mating behaviors are behavioral adaptations too. Okay, the one I think that's the trickiest is physiological adaptations. So here is a spitting cobra, and it can spray venom. So venom and toxins would be examples of physiological adaptation because they have to do with body chemistry. Venus flytraps can digest insects, which other plants can't do, so that those digestive juices have to do with body chemistry. This is a wood frog. We have these here in BC, and they can actually freeze solid over the winter without dying. So that the fact that their blood can freeze completely without it dying is a physiological adaptation. Now, my face is covering this, but it's a bear who's hibernating for the winter. So animals whose bodies can slow down their metabolism or how they get energy and make heat slows down over the winter, so they have to eat less food when it's not as available in the winter. Okay, it's time for you to practice. Okay, it's your turn to practice. Pause the video, read these two statements about emperor penguins, and write down what kind of adaptation you think it is, and unpause when you're ready to see the answer. If you said behavioral, you are correct. These are both behavioral adaptations of emperor penguins. Okay, pause and try this one. Okay, ready? These are physiological adaptations. Okay, one more time, pause. Okay, I hope you said these were structural adaptations. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and go do the practice and let me know if you need any help. Bye.